Hello vinyl community, it's Dom back. Been trying to put together a video for a good week since returning from my tour, which I will be recapping hopefully this week as well. I wanted to do a video that combines a bunch of topics, bunch of threads, as you know that I'm seeking a thread, from around the VC, notably 2 channels. So we're going to launch right into it. General updates about my life and things going on with records, and that'll come soon with my halfway recap of 2025 of my 25 big records I want to get. We're going to start with the 7 genres I don't normally show from Jack at the Vinyl Voyage from Scotland, a channel I've only recently just been checking out. Jack, I'll probably be planning to watch much more videos. He does a great channel. I was led to this by Jonas, Vinyl Stockholm. The rest of this video will be dedicated to his threads, but let's start with the 7 genres. And you know, I show a lot of different genres, and I've shown stuff from these types of things before, but we'll just say these are less frequent. We'll start with like rock and roll, or rockabilly, or surf. Link Wray, Jack the Ripper, of course. You gotta have some Link Wray in your collection. This is the original pressing on Swan. Really hard to find this. Not too hard to find, but really hard to find this in nice shape, as many of you know. This is a nice original. I think it's technically a second press. Doesn't have a deep groove on the Swan label, but it is mono. This does include rumble. This is the only early original I have of his. I do have a couple of 45s. You should know rumble. You should know Link Wray. Of course, I'm probably a bigger fan of his 70s period when he did that Shack trilogy. I have all those records. From Dunn, North Carolina. He actually played here in Ithaca in 1966 at a little place that's gone now, but yeah, there's old posters. Maybe I'll see if I can insert that. But so this is, I think, from about 1960-61. It's talking about Rumble being recorded in 1959 or released in 1958 actually, and yeah, it's a classic song. Just what a timeless song, and really amazing for the time period. So here it is. I guess my sort of old time, or not old time, but rock and roll. Oldies, you might even say. So that's one. And I'll tell you about this sort of spacey, sort of, you know, cosmic jam we're playing. I don't show a ton of hard rock. I have a pretty small hard rock psych, but more hard rock. You know, people like Dylan show this stuff a lot, and I dig it, but I just don't really go after too much of it. But here's one probably shown at some point, but I really dig this one because it's a little bit of an odd duck, which, you know, I like. Haystacks Balboa on the Polydor label, a one-off. Not too expensive. This one I got at Angry Mom Records, I think. Produced by Shadow Morton. On the Polydor label. I know there's some weird vocals on this, a little bit strange, that sort of appeal to me, but it is a hard rock album with some sort of like, yeah, some gnarly guitar solos and things like that. But I mean, look at these bruisers on the back here, and a very psychedelic cover. It does have psych leanings, as a lot of the harder rock records do from this era. It's probably from 71 or 72, as many of these records are. I forgot if it shows it on the label. It doesn't, so it could be even 69 or 70. But a really interesting one. You can find this as low as maybe 20 to 25 if you're lucky. It's probably more like a $40 record, I think. At least last I remember. I got it for about 20 bucks. You can see that the sleeve is a little worn, so the price was reflective of that. So there it is, number 2 in this 7 genres I don't normally show. Yeah, I don't show a lot of electronic music. I know about a lot of it from working in stores and being around it. So I'm familiar, obviously, with the major artists. I'm familiar with a lot of the subgenres. Autechre. I don't have a lot of Autechre. I have listened to them. A guy that worked at Angry Mom was a huge fan, so he played a lot of these. These are the EP 7.1 and 7.2. Stunty, I know, is a big fan of these. These are on, they should be on Warp, right? This is that kind of minimal electronica that I can really get into. Left blank output, right? Maybe you're seeing, I didn't really fully look into these. I haven't listened to these in a while. And Zeiss, yeah, there's some sort of text on here, but it's EP 7.1 and 7.2, and I think this is 7.3, if I said correctly. But these are good. I checked these out. These popped into Angry Mom too, the kind of thing that I wasn't going to really buy in store, but they turned up there. And it was an opportune time to grab them. You know, going back in my days, you know, this is stuff I sort of always really depended on how it sounded to me. You know, I didn't take a lot of chances on this type of thing. If something checked out for me, I went for it. Yeah, hip-hop, I rarely show hip-hop. True. Do I have some? Yes. The first EP by Jurassic 5 is an old-time favorite. I have a small hip-hop electronica sort of area. Not huge, but I do love this. The, you know, Quality Control was always a favorite. I believe this is original. I've had this for many years on the Rumble. Who's the real major on top? I don't think there is a major. Who cares? Cut Chemist was in this. Great group. I do like their first LP too, but I really feel like this is technically an EP. What is this, like 1999 or something like that? Cool old label that's sort of taking off the Scholastic Records, you know? DJ Newmark and Cut Chemist produced. Yeah, the year's not on here, but it's right around the turn of the century. So we have that. All right, this next one, I guess it's not quite like the Link Ray, but it's from the same era. Really sort of a 60s pop. I really enjoy the Fireball's Bottle of Wine. Really cool song, too. Interesting. I wouldn't call this psychedelic at all, so I'm not showing a psych record. Featuring Jimmy Gilmer. I like his second record, too. It's on the Atco label, stereo. Yeah, another one that, again, this is a good example of something working at a record store. You kind of hear it get played, and you're like, oh, you wouldn't have given it a chance, or somebody plays it, and you're like, oh, I'll take a shot on that. I didn't look up any history on what this is, and who's behind this. If the producer, Norman Petty, someone will probably illuminate me on some of this, but the Bottle of Wine is a Tom Paxton song. And what else do we have on here? It's mainly other songs written by, looks like various songwriters. George Tomsko is part of the band. He wrote some of these songs too. So we'll show that. An interesting one. And this is I'm showing cheap stuff. This is like a $4 or $5 record. This next one is not cheap. It's probably one of the country records most on everyone's list for like hardest to find. I don't know that I've shown it. Obviously the cover precedes its famous, and it's a great record too, Satan is Real, the Louvin brothers. Yeah, this is apparently there's a whole great story about this record on the Cocaine and Wingnuts, what's it called? Spring Shells and Wing, I forget the name of the podcast that I'll link to it below. Diamonds and Cocaine or something. You all know it. He did a great episode on this, son of, the words aren't coming to me. But this is an actual giant demon that they made. And obviously this is a scare tactic record, you know, all about sort of being afraid and kneeling before thy God. But a great story on Charlie and Ira, you know, wow, they had quite the story. And I'll link to that episode before, it's really great. But on the Capitol label, it's hard to find this in nice playable shape. I do have a nice VG/lower VG plus copy. Good luck finding a near mint one of this. Tough to find even in any shape. My sleeve is also pretty respectable, as you can see. You might get a VG plus out of that. It's got some spine and seam wear. This is an early eBay. This is something I got from eBay. Never seen this in a store, I don't believe. Probably have. I've seen it at record shows, but this was God, I don't know how long ago when this was much cheaper to get, but it wasn't cheap then either. This was maybe $40-50 at the time. So, but I love it, and I have a pretty decent amount of country records. I don't listen to it too often. This is a crown jewel of the country. And the last genre, this is hardly a genre at all, but it is like the most hard to categorize. One of the most hard to categorize records I have is a reissue. I probably talked about this one before. Medico Doctor vibes, littered through Dorker vibes. As you can see, it's a stock cover. This is a reissue on the Companion label, which I did a whole video about that label early on in this channel, dedicated to the great reissues that they do. And they do great work. I don't think they're making or reissuing stuff anymore. This is originally from 2013. Originally, the record is from 1979 on Russell Records, a private press. So this is like a private press, Asset Archives type thing. I forget if this is in the archives. It is a U.S. record, but it is a African artist. But it doesn't sound like... I guess you might... It might be akin to a William Onyebor in terms of the drum machines that happen, in terms of the minimalness parts that happen, but it's uncategorizable in terms of the way it shifts from genre to genre. They're kind of... This one, maybe I'll throw a sample in, and I think this reissue might be easy to get. The original I've never seen it for sale. I think maybe there was a time where some dead stock was found, but now this is very rare. I don't know how many originally made, but reissue you should be able to find on the companion label, as I said. But this thing hops all over the place. It's sort of like a little lo-fi boogie, a little minimal synth, maybe a little bit of post-punk. I don't know. It's an African artist, I believe, although I believe living in the U.S. I think, because it is a U.S. pressing originally. Compton, California, 1979 on Russell Records, or by Russell Records. But yeah, one you might see in the dollar bin. You never know. Stock cover. I just love litter through dorker vibes. Like, what does that mean? And it's not even litter. It's litter with one T. And just spelling through that way. The title alone should intrigue you. So those are my 7 genres for Jack at the Vinyl Voyage. Check out that channel. I'll link to his video below. And thank you, Jonas, for linking me up. Speaking of Jonas, UFOs and Hobbits. We're going to do some on that. Let's get right into it. Now, me and Jonas are supposed to do a Flying Nun video, so I've made reference to this. It'll happen, but I'm showing Flying Nun stuff because it's just the way it worked out. And I have Flying Nun stuff to show in my half-year update. But this one, how does this have a UFO involved? This is a Puddle. Pretty rare live EP. The big name here is, well, George Henderson is the one who would be in the Puddle and would be in subsequent Puddle releases. This is Flying Nun 1983, I think it is. But also Peter Gutteridge, who made that great Pure albums, who's in Snapper, The Great and Wash Clean. What's the other band? I think that's it. He's on here, playing guitar and Casio tone. But why is this a UFO related record? Well, and I forgot how I found this, but it comes with this typed insert. There's some allegiances or some talk about UFOs in here, and the original insert has this big ass UFO. Sorry for the noises on track 1. Outside life ain't as intelligent as we first imagined. So there's your UFO. I was checking the cover. I'm like, is there a UFO on this? No. But one-time pressing. I don't think this was ever... Oh, sorry, 1986. I don't believe there's a second pressing up. I didn't look any of this stuff up before. So you'll have to forgive me. But yeah, it does include lyrics. And this is recorded live, so it's a little bit lo-fi. The next record we're playing. And this is more interstellar. Sensations Fix, Flying Tapes. I mean, look at this beautiful sleeve. This is sort of a lo-fi prog band for Franco Falsini. I've talked a little bit about him before, but you can see the interstellar nature of this record. This is on Polydor, like most of the records are. 1978. Italian pressing, Italian artist, Italian band. Sensations Fix. This one is maybe more alludes to a UFO, and it is this cover of Yola Tango's 2000, or is it 1999? 2000. And I can hear, no, I always get these two confused. And then Nothing Turned Itself Inside Out. And this photographer here, Gregory Knudsen, I think it is. I want to get that right. Photographs by Gregory Knudsen, yes. Pretty famous photographer. I've seen some exhibits of his. Maybe Mazzy, if you're watching, you know him. But this is the photograph, and you can see he's looking up at some sort of light in the sky. One of my favorite Yola Tango records, if not my favorite. Next, classic record. I don't think I've ever shown this before, but it is a reissue. I don't think this is a good sounding reissue, but here we have Misfits Walk Among Us with this big ass UFO here. They do have a bunch of allegiance, themes of aliens and things running through their records. But anyway, this is originally on the Ruby label. As you know, there's different color variations that make this original or not. This is clearly a Rhino vinyl reissue. This is when I was working for Warner Music Group, so I got this for nothing. You can see the cutout. I left it in the shrink. 1982 full-length debut, Melodic Horror Show, Crazed, Blistering, and Bold. Yeah, it's the first LP, technically. So, it's a little Misfits. Here's another one that I had to dig to find this, and I don't know why I pulled this out. Now, obviously, there's probably more UFO imagery and interstellar and sort of spatial sort of records in the collection I just haven't come across. It's hard to search your Discogs by that. But I had a feeling there was something on this that had something related to it, and I'm talking about Mogwai 10 Rapid. This is a collection of their early EPs in LP form. It's on the Jet Set label, which many of you may not know. I actually worked at this label early. Right out of college, I started interning, and then I started working for them. Was let go. Still not happy about that. Apparently, they didn't know what I think. They didn't think I knew what I was doing, calling college radio stations and retail, which I didn't. I was like 21. And yeah, interning went great, and then they started paying me, and they're like, I don't think we can keep paying you. So that was sad. I was bummed about that, but I love this label, and they were responsible for the Jet Set releases in the U.S. before they were signed to Matador Records. So what is the UFO? Well, on the label, another flying saucer. Yeah, flying saucer attack. Not much in the way of flying saucers. I looked at that band first, of course, but most of that is sort of scenic scapes of things and sort of washed out photographs. Anyway, this is a great EP. The song Helicon 2 is so cool. I love all of this. Summer, Helicon 2, Angels vs. Aliens, I Am Not Human. Originally from 1997. This was reissued. This is the original US pressing. I won't go through these. These turn up on singles. I think it's all 7-inch singles, I believe. So 10 Rapid by Mogwai on Jet Set, the original American pressing with that flying saucer there. And the last one for Jonas and his UFOs theme is, yes, Scientists vs. Space Invaders. This is the original green sleeves. Here we have it. Yeah, this is just part of that series of those silly but awesome covers. Scientist meets Halloween, vampires, Scientist wins the World Cup, but the Space Invaders, you have all kinds of space invading going on. But it's fantastic dub, trippy, but minimal record. The Great Scientist. This is from 1982, 1983, something like that. 81, actually. You can find represses of this, probably sound just as good, maybe, I don't know. Awesome, though. The other Jonas, and that's my entry for UFOs and space aliens for Jonas Vinyl Stockholm. Let me flip the record. All right, the other theme, and I'll finish with this, that Jonas did, which is much harder to do, but had to do with Tolkien and Hobbits and, Lord of the Rings. So I just found a few records that sort of have, he showed a few that were, I have as well, but classic ones. There's plenty of imagery of that in the 60s. I mean, not plenty, but definitely some. The big one was Hobbits, Down to Middle Earth. I don't have that record. It's more of a pop record, but a psychedelic cover. But I do have a few things that I'll talk about that mention the world of Tolkien. First is Wizard of Oz, by the West Coast Workshop, a sort of one-off studio project. I did look this up, produced by Nick Vinay. Nick Vinay signed the Beach Boys. That's his sort of claim to fame. But he's not in this group, if you want to call it a group. One of the guys here did go on, was like a jazz artist. What's his name? It's James Bond. James E. Bond, I believe it's him. Looking like Scarecrow. He had a jazz career. I think I have that right. Or Jimmy Bond. This is cool. I gotta listen to this again. Every time I listen to it, I sort of forget what's going on, which I think is a good thing. Sometimes that's a bad thing when you don't remember what you heard on the record, but I think this one goes into some crazy territory that's pretty interesting. But we do have, obviously this is about the Wizard of Oz, but we do have something about Max the Hobbit. Hopefully you can see that there. Bizarrely on the Capitol label, and you can understand why it might be if Nick Vinay producing signed the Beach Boys. So, The Wizard of Oz and Other Trans Love Trips by the West Coast Workshop. I don't know if I've ever seen anyone show this. I should check and see if this is in the Acid Archives. I actually don't know. Maybe it'll end up being an entry. And also, this next one. This is a bit of a stretch, but not really. The band Sand with this record, Gollum, of course. Yes, you know Gollum, my precious. This is a German sort of cosmic synth krautrock record on the Delta acoustic label. It's an original pressing. I wouldn't call this krautrock more than like a experimental, a little like a cluster. I did have a reissue of this. I actually recently replaced this, so this is pretty new into my collection on the Delta acoustic label. I think it's like 72. A little worn on the cover, but solid playing copy. Nice playing copy, VG+. Really cool cover. No actual shots of a Gollum or anything like that, but it is, the title of the record is Gollum. The band is Sand. That's always very confusing. I think it feels like they're called Gollum, but no, it's Sand. There's a this is the only record of the era for Sand, and I think there would be some stuff later on. There was a big reissue campaign with these guys. And the other thing, obviously, to talk about, I don't believe Jonas mentioned it, was the Hobbit label. No, I don't have Randy Holden's Population 2. I'm only so-so with that record. It's the proto-metal type feel to that is what I like about it the most. It's really insane tones he was doing. But it really is a blues rock kind of thing on that, and I don't really dig blues rock. So I would never buy an original of that. I used to have a reissue. I decided to sell it, but certainly cool for what it was trying to do. The Hobbit label. Plain Jane. There it is. This is a good, did I? No, I did a different record for the Acid Archives. I haven't done this one yet. This is a cool one. This one's got a little tougher to find from, what is it, 69. The Hobbit label is a subsidiary of GRT. I don't know how well this label did for paying back its artists, but Plain Jane, this is a white label. A lot of the Hobbit label stuff you see is white labels. Really good country rock and rural rock record. Every time I pull this out to play it, which has been a while, I really enjoy it quite a bit. So cool, yeah, there's only, 5-6 releases on the Hobbit label. This is I did the Acid Archives on. Sapphire Thinker is an excellent pop psych record with really lovely keyboard. I'll link to that. Two brothers, I believe. Bill Richmond and Peggy Richmond. And Stephen. Peggy and Stephen. Really cool cover. This looks Lord of the Ringsy, actually. Very much Tolkien type cover, so that just sort of fits in on its own on the Hobbit label, another white label. And the last one I'll show, also on the Hobbit label. I'm trying to do a quicker video today. I'm supposed to be going to work after this. This is the easiest record to find, and a pretty nice rock album, Rockin' Foo. They have another record on Uni, I think. This one's on the Hobbit label. This, I believe, is a stock label. Yeah, there's what the stock Hobbit labels look like. Something else on Hobbit I'm forgetting. But that's Rockin' Foo, self-titled. And yeah, that's my little entry for Jonas. Doing the UFOs, doing the Tolkien. I wanted to put all that together, and the 7 genres for Jack at the Vinyl Voyage. That's what I have. I'll be back with you with another video soon. Hopefully my recap this week of the Material Objects Southern Tour. Take care.